New York is a big state, and this week we're going to take you to the center of it all. From Binghamton to Cooperstown, the former hop capital of the country is bringing back its rich craft brewing roots. Join us as we tour the Empire State's central region on this episode of Brewed in New York.
Discover even more local foods and beverages at Taste New York locations throughout the state. Whether you're at a state park, sporting event, or stopping at one of our New York welcome centers, it's never been easier to choose local and buy New York. Unilam, a family-owned business in upstate New York serving the building industry for over a century. You can spot Unilam's finely crafted timber products in breweries throughout New York State and beyond. Learn more at unilam.com. 1886 Malt House, proudly partnering with New York's finest grain growers to produce locally sourced, high-quality malt for farm and craft breweries. The Northeast Hop Alliance, farmers, brewers, and educators working together to provide high-quality, locally grown hops to craft beer consumers in New York and the Northeast.
You may not realize it, but the central region of New York State is home to many things we all know and love, including the Twilight Zone, carousels, and even the 8-hour workday.
And of course, there's one other common love you left out, Maya.
Ah, yes. Baseball.
Beer! Oh, well, actually, we can talk both beer and baseball if we're talking about Cooperstown.
That's right. The National Baseball Hall of Fame is located in Cooperstown.
And so is the Farmers Museum. That's because the fertile soil of central New York has always made it a rich agricultural region. In fact, this area once supplied the bulk of the nation's hops. Before we visit our first brewery in Cooperstown, let's find out a little bit more about our hoppy heritage.
Craft 101.
Although beer can technically be made without hops, most brewers and beer lovers agree that Humulus lupulus is essential to making great beer. Hops are cone-shaped flowers that grow on vines, and their aroma and bitterness balances beer's sweet malt. There are all kinds of varieties with names like Cascade and Chinook, and their flavors are often described with words like citrus, spice, earthy, or floral. New York has a rich history with hops. Back in the mid-1800s, our farmers were the largest producer of hops in the country. That makes sense, since New York produced and exported the most beer. Locally grown ingredients were shipped across the state on the Erie Canal, brewed into glorious ale in Albany, and then sent down the Hudson River. Life was hoppy. Until a devastating fungus called downy mildew ravaged New York's hop crops in 1909. Farms struggled to survive, but the passing of Prohibition in 1920 caused the total collapse of New York's hop industry. By the time Prohibition was lifted, farmers had found an even better location for growing hops: the arid regions of the Pacific Northwest. It required irrigation, but the climate kept the fungus at bay, and hops produced in eastern Oregon and Washington expanded rapidly. In fact, America's preference for hop-forward beers began there. For decades, the Pacific Northwest dominated the industry. But today, New York is finally hopping back on the bandwagon. With craft beer booming across the state, the demand for locally sourced ingredients is on the rise. Helped by research from some of our state's finest institutions, we're creating all new best practices for growing hardy hops in our hometown. So the next time you taste a beer brewed with New York-grown hops, you can take pride in our local flavor and resurrected roots.
We're at Brewery Omegang, just 5 minutes outside of the center of Cooperstown, nestled in the beautiful farmlands of central New York. This area actually used to be a hops farm, so it's fitting that it's now home to one of the state's most renowned craft breweries. There's so much to learn about here at Omegang, so let's head on into the visitor center and get started. Brewery Omegang was founded in 1997 by husband and wife team Don Feinberg and Wendy Littlefield. The couple started out by importing Belgian beer and eventually had the idea that they'd like to try brewing Belgian styles in New York State. Now, the name Ommegang comes from a Belgian festival that translated literally means to walk around. Walking around the grounds on my way over to the visitor center, it's difficult not to be impressed with how their vision has taken shape over the past 20 years. Many people give Ommegang the credit for almost single-handedly introducing New York to Belgian styles of beer. I wanted to talk with head brewer Phil about exactly what defines their beer. Ommegang is known for Belgian-style beers.
Right.
To help people understand, what are some of the differences between a Belgian beer and an American beer?
To me, what Belgians bring to the world of beers is very microorganism-driven beers. They're unique Saccharomyces yeast strains, typically can produce a lot of fruity esters.
I can tell when I'm drinking a Belgian beer, I can pick up notes of clove or banana. That's going to be from the yeast that's used. Talk me through this beer here.
Well, this is our take on a traditional Belgian white beer. Goes back centuries. We use some raw wheat as well as malted wheat, also barley malt, of course. We also use a little bit of oats to give it like a little bit of a creaminess to it.
Yeah, there is like a substantial body on that.
Yeah, has like a softness, like a soft creaminess. And the classic ingredients in this style is orange peel and coriander. Our philosophy with spicing is just below the surface, so you know something is there, but you can't put your finger on it, but it's adding something to the beer. That's the level of spicing we strive for.
And those fun ingredients like orange peel and coriander, I mean, that's more common in Belgium.
Yeah, yes. Going back to what makes Belgian beers unique is also typically the bottle carbonation is very high, some up to 4 volumes, whereas like a typical American beer would be like 2.6, 2.7 volumes. So that can be a real characteristic of Belgian styles is a higher carbonation from the bottle.
And Brewery Ommegang bottles a lot of beer. Most of the beer is packaged in Belgian-style bottles, which are the same size as a wine bottle. And just like champagne, these extra fizzy adult beverages are stopped with a cork. To help achieve a higher CO2 volume, the beer goes through a process called bottle conditioning, where a little additional yeast and sugar is added right before the bottle is sealed. This results in one last bump in fermentation, producing a little more alcohol, some additional flavor, and some extra carbon dioxide. Bottle conditioning can be tough on yeast, so Ommegang employs yet another special technique in the process called open fermentation. Open fermentation is a traditional method of making beer in an open vat instead of the more modern closed container. Phil isn't as interested in producing beer this way as he is in collecting the yeast that is produced in the process. The white foam you can see on top is yeast. By fermenting in a large open vat, he can skim the healthy yeast directly off the top and put it in bottles for conditioning. This way, he's able to ensure that only the strongest yeast is used. All of these small details have helped Ommegang create a reputation for their beer across the United States. They even scored a partnership with HBO to promote a little series called Game of Thrones. Ever heard of it? I asked publicity manager Allison Capozza to help explain it to me. A lot of people know Ommegang through the Game of Thrones beers. What makes Ommegang such a great fit for that series?
I think in terms of being very high quality beer matched with a very high quality show, and also our look and feel, it's a little bit medieval-esque.
And I know some of these recipes for the Game of Thrones beers are really creative. Can you tell me about some of those?
We've used de-seeded ancho chilies to represent the dragon's fire. We've used spelt in one of the beers, which would have been kind of like a grain that a nomadic tribe might have.
Are all the brewers required to watch it?
It's such a good show. Everybody here is a fan. And many of the people here were fans long before the tie-in.
So people tell me that when someone comes to Ommegang, they just get it. What does that mean?
If you ever tried to explain the Grand King into someone who hasn't been there, it's kind of like that with Ommegang. You can drink the beer in a bar anywhere across the country. You can see pictures of the brewery, but it's not really until you're here on the grounds, meeting the people, experiencing what we've built here, then you get the magic that's Ommegang.
Belgium comes to Cooperstown, the annual event. Tell me how that started.
Belgium Comes to Cooperstown is our annual beer festival, which actually started as a way to introduce Belgian culture, like flag throwing and riding on horses, to the local community. And then it kind of morphed into this beer festival.
And how many breweries come to that event?
About 75, as many as 100, depending on the year. Everybody who comes brings a Belgian-style beer, but then they can bring something that's definitely not Belgian.
You must have best friend breweries that come here every year.
We do. There's breweries that come every single year. They always camp in the same spot. They always deck out their campsites in the most outrageous ways possible. Maybe a hot tub, maybe a big screen with a movie playing. Kind of never know what you're gonna find. It's just about 3,000 tickets every year. They sell out immediately, but we think that that's a good size for the space. You're guaranteed to come and not have to wait in long lines to get a beer. It's one big beer festival with kind of little mini festivals going on all around you, be it in the beer tent or the live music or Elvis is coming in on a parachute. So it kind of depends on the theme of the year, so you just never know what you'll find here.
With my interest fully piqued, I decided to come back a couple weeks later to experience everything Belgium Comes to Cooperstown, also known as BCTC, had to offer. I'm here at BCTC 2016 at Brewery Ommegang. It is a beautiful summer day. I can see hop farms, thousands of people sampling beer from 60-something breweries. I've got my tasting glass and I'm ready to have some fun. So let's go! For this year's theme, Ommegang decided to honor one of America's great comedic actors, Bill Murray. And as in years past, they were playing it up with numerous references to classic Murray films like Ghostbusters sprinkled throughout the festival. They even have an authentic Ecto-1 car from Ghostbusters. So cool. Even some of the attendees got into the spirit of things. And some you wish hadn't. Rumor had it that Murray might make an appearance and mingle with the crowd, so I went to track him down. Have you seen Bill Murray walking around yet?
I have not.
Have you guys seen Bill Murray around yet? Hey, do you guys know where Bill Murray is?
No.
Hey, do you know where Bill Murray is?
I haven't seen
Right
him.
here.
Bill? Oh, it's Bill Murray.
That's Bill Murray there.
No, it wasn't. But eventually I did find him. Sort of. Oh well, even without a celebrity appearance, you couldn't beat the vibe at BCTC, or the beer. BCTC was the perfect way to round out my first Brewery Ommegang experience. I've always been a fan of their beer, but now, having seen it for myself, I can truly say that I've come to appreciate all that Ommegang means to the local area and the larger craft beer community, and I cannot wait to come back again.
What's nice about Brewery Ommegang's events is that they offer camping on their grounds, a great way to put your keys away while enjoying some of New York's finest entertainment and craft beverages. But if you can't bring a tent to your next brewery destination, make sure to plan ahead for how you're getting home. Find out about public transportation, update your ride app, or appoint a designated driver. Never drink and drive.
Ommegang was a great place to visit, and I really love how they're teaching people about Belgian-style beer. But in recent years, they've also started brewing some American styles. Their hop state, New York, is a small batch American pale ale that uses hops sourced exclusively from New York state farms. This dedication to supporting New York's agricultural industry is something we're seeing in many breweries throughout the central region. In fact, there's a special distinction in New York for breweries that source from local farmers. And Maya actually got to go visit the state's first certified farm brewery.
Welcome to Hamilton. No, not the Tony Award-winning Broadway show, although the town was named after the influential founding father. The village of Hamilton hosts a year-round population of about 4,000 people, and that's only slightly higher than the student population at Colgate University, the prestigious liberal arts college nestled on a hill. The village is located at the very center of New York State and sits amid farmers' fields that once supplied over 80% of the nation's hops. The downtown looks as if it was pulled from a Norman Rockwell canvas. It's home to boutiques and cafes, a movie theater, and a hotel. And you probably won't see any public dueling in the park. Hamilton was recently voted one of America's friendliest towns by Forbes magazine. The downtown is also home to a new tap room. And in keeping with the message that Hamilton is an inviting community, the owners decided to call it Good Nature Brewing. When you walk in, the first thing you notice is that Good Nature is intentional about fostering conversations. There are no TVs, and the music is kept low. There is nothing to interfere with your connection to the person across the table or bar. The second thing you'll notice is a kind of nature theme, one that reflects the owner's commitment to the agricultural heritage of the region. I sat down with co-founder and Colgate alum, Carrie Blackmore, to discuss more.
How did you first get started in this business?
Well, both my partner and I love craft beer. And when we got together, we knew we wanted to do something together. Sorry to be so sappy. But we wanted to start a business, and beer was kind of an obvious answer for us, given the hops growing history and the fact that there were no breweries in the county in probably over 200 years. When we first got together, I was doing farm-based education. We were both big foodies, big locavore people, big farmers market people. So that's a big part of who we are as people and what we believe in. When we wrote our business plan, we designed our company and our recipes around sourcing locally. Within a couple months of us getting ready to open, we got a call from a very, very old farm family here, just 4 miles up the road, and they were growing several acres of green cabbage for a now closed sauerkraut factory. Apparently there was one south of here, but they said, hey, you know, I hear you're doing this thing, and I hear you source locally, and I want to know, like, are you gonna need local hops? And I said, absolutely. And now I think they have 7 or 8 acres planted. We like to work with local farmers because we know more about the raw materials, we know more about the people, we have actual relationships with those people, know their families, and the more we choose in our business to source locally, whether it be raw materials or merchandise or what have you, we're having a positive impact on the environment and on the economy.
With that in mind, I talk with co-owner and husband Matt to see exactly what Good Nature has been able to source from the local community.
Well, this is 2-row malted barley here. We actually have some hand-rolled oats that is part of one of our signature beers. And you actually have some pelletized hops, which are...
These smell great,
Don't they?
actually.
It's amazing.
I've never seen it in this form before, you know?
Yeah,
just
typically
nothing
they're in a cone shape. They grow on what is actually known as a bine, not a vine. But for storage reasons and for ease of use in the brewing process, these actually are compacted and pelletized. They kind of look like rabbit food, but they smell a lot better than
They
that.
really did, they do. Now, did you get these oats locally sourced?
We did, actually, from a farm right down in Cazenovia, New York, from a woman named Judy Gianforte, who actually hand rolls these oats. And we actually have to put about 50 pounds of these oats into each batch of beer, and we brew a lot of beer, so she's a busy woman.
Good Nature Brewing uses so much local grain and hops that they became New York's very first certified farm brewery. To get the license, brewers are required to purchase and incorporate a certain amount of locally sourced ingredients for their brew. And in return, they get some special perks, including the right to open up additional tap rooms without extra fees and some tax breaks. Paul Leone from the New York State Brewers Association was one of the bill's advocates.
Farm brewing legislation came out in 2013, and really it was a way for us to promote agriculture in New York State. We're a big agricultural state. 20% of your beer has to be New York State grown ingredients until 2019. In 2019, that goes to 60%. 2024, that goes to 90%. So now you've got farmers putting barley in because it's a higher value crop. Well, that barley needs to be malted. So now there are 9 malt houses there are in New York State, which has to malt the barley that then goes to the brewer. So that's more industry. That's what this license was designed to do, to bring back industry in New York State, and it's doing that.
So brewers buy more New York grain and hops, farmers grow and sell more, and we get more beer served in more locations. And for Matt and Carrie, it's helped them create the kind of locally focused business they dreamed of.
What was your vision for this tasting room as a community gathering place?
Our community, for a small community, is actually fairly diverse. We have people from all walks of life with lots of different experiences, and we get a lot of people traveling through as a result of the university. So we wanted to make sure that our place was a place where anyone could feel comfortable, because beer is supposed to bring people together and it's supposed to kind of even the playing field. It's not a snobby thing. It's actually a family-friendly place. I mean, we wanted it to be family-friendly, don't get me wrong, but we didn't anticipate people bringing in their kids as much as they do. So now we have a cabinet full of games, and we put Saranac Draft Root Beer on tap, and people order in pizzas and have family night here. There could be a woman nursing on the couch, and we didn't anticipate that, but we're very, very proud that people feel comfortable bringing their families here for that reason.
Tell me what's next for Good Nature.
So we're building a new brewery and tasting room and beer garden just south of the village, maybe a mile from our front door here at the tap room. One really great part about the property is that the Colgate Community Garden is actually on site. So we're letting them stay because we want them to keep doing what they're doing over there. It's near and dear to our heart, but we're hoping to not only use some of their produce in the kitchen and in the beer, of course, but also work on them with different kinds of programming.
I want to thank you very much for inviting us to Good Nature's Tap Room. It really lives up to its name.
Thank you very much.
Cutting diagonally across the central region is Interstate 88, one of the most scenically spectacular highways in New York State. In addition to enjoying the rolling countryside and farms, a southbound traveler on I-88 can stop at Howe Caverns to take an underground cave tour, sample some world-famous barbecue in Oneonta, and if they land in Binghamton at the right time of year, watch dozens of balloons take flight at the annual Speedy Fest. But that's not all Binghamton's got going on. Up until World War II, the city was one of New York's big manufacturing hubs, so it's got some great history and a classic riverbank cityscape. Today, Binghamton's making a comeback. If we measure it in new breweries, as we like to do on this show, you'll find that there are 3, all of which opened in 2011. One of them, Water Street Brewing, has come up with a creative way to draw crowds and showcase what its hometown has to offer.
My name is Michelle Bleichert, and I'm one of the owners of Water Street Brewing Company in Binghamton, New York. We're a brew pub, so we have a restaurant on site. We also do all of our brewing on premises. Our signature beers are Hefeweizen, German-style wheat ale. We always have a rotating lineup, so whenever you come in, there's always something new on tap. Binghamton is a great town to be in. It's an up-and-coming town. It is a town that has experienced some hard times, but there's a vibrancy in the local population. Part of Water Street Brewing's motto is fresh, local, uncomplicated, and we do a lot of community support events. The idea for the Beers and Beasts 8K race was a collaboration between the Triple Cities Runners Club and Water Street Brewing Company. The goal of today's event is to raise money for our 3 local animal rescues. The first event of the day is the 8K race. The second race of the day is the Hound Dog Dash. That is about a 1K race, and runners and their dogs hit the streets of downtown Binghamton to see who's going to be top dog. The third race is called the Ankle Biters Kids Fun Run. There are a lot of people that have never run before or just wanted to enjoy the experience of being out, enjoying beer, enjoying music, so they decided to register and give it a whirl. Bringing people together over Beers and Beasts, nothing is better than combining your passions. Being a brewery, obviously beer is a passion of ours, and we're huge animal lovers. Bringing the 2 of them together was just the perfect combination. We believe this is a great showcase event to highlight what Binghamton has to offer. It's a great first-year race. After the success of our event today, we absolutely believe this will be an annual event for us.
At the Water Street Block Party, we also found a small business with unique ties to both beer and beasts.
Hi, I'm Casey Parker, and I'm with Hungry Hound Beer Grain Treats. We make dog treats out of spent grain from the brewing process.
About 2 years ago, Casey bought me a home brewing kit, and the first batch of beer that we made, we disposed of the grain out back, and we figured there was got to be a better use for these grains.
That's when Casey tried mixing the spent grains with other simple ingredients, like peanut butter, to create homemade dog treats. Before long, she had perfected her recipe, and the treats were so sought after, she decided to start a business.
I could not brew enough beer at home to keep up with the demand for the grains that we needed, so we started going out to local breweries and speaking with them.
Most of the breweries we work with, their batches are mostly barley.
It's a very healthy, high protein, high fiber treat for dogs, and they love the taste and the flavor.
The owners of Hungry Hound don't just pride themselves on making their customers and canine friends happy, but local brewers as well.
Most breweries would either pay disposal fees for the grains, or they would give them to local farmers. There's a lot of breweries popping up all over the place, so there's an abundance of grains. So it's just a way to take a viable waste product from a small business and turn it into another small business's main ingredient.
We really get great feedback, and we get a lot of people who say now their dogs will not eat anything else because dogs go crazy over them and they just want more.
Plan on visiting several craft beverage producers on your next trip? The Central New York region has a number of craft beverage trails that you can use to arrange your itinerary. These maps connect the dots between locations so you can maximize the scenery and your craft beer experience. Enjoy responsibly.
Hops, hound dogs, farm-friendly breweries, and Belgian beer. I think it's safe to say there are a lot of reasons to check out Central New York.
And you can find even more at our website at brewednewyorkshow.com. There you can learn about beer tourism throughout New York State and details about the places we visited in today's show.
We'll be posting new episodes online as they roll out, so follow us on social media and you'll be the first to know.
Thanks for traveling with us. We'll see you next time on Brewed in New York.